Hey Jasper fans, thank you so much for tuning in to the Jasper Sports Network right here on GoJaspers.com. Connor Giblin, pleased to be joined by the head coach of the track and field team, at least one of them at least, Kerry Gallagher. Thank you so much for joining me.
Yeah, my pleasure.
All right, we have Kerry on. MAAC championships coming up later on this week. Before we talk a little bit about that, let's just see where the team's at. Based on your observations, how were they performing this year?
I think that we've been doing a great job of gaining momentum across the board. I think, every weekend we've got people who kind of stand out with performances that are, either PRs or they place well. But regardless of whether, it was a great race, a good race, or even, maybe a disappointing race, everybody's been gaining momentum and improving in some way. So I think that the team is feeling that and seeing that. I'm certainly seeing it from the coaching end of things. So it's definitely high energy and a positive environment at the moment.
Before the indoor season started, I should say, we talked a lot with the coaches and some of the student athletes about the team chemistry and how before the year started, it seemed like it was much better, at least in the past few years. How have you seen that play out as the season's gone on?
Well, I think we had a lot of young athletes in the past, and as we're growing and getting older, and we've got some really good junior and senior leadership on the team, and I think the freshmen and the sophomores are kind of following suit. So when people are happy to be where they are, then it's going to be a positive experience. So the athletes are coming into practice smiling, they're loose, they're excited, they're enthusiastic, and I think all those things are really just kind of contributing to maybe that difference or that change in culture, or whatever you want to call it.
All right, let's take a look at the MAAC championships coming up later on this week. Obviously, you bring some of the best. Iona is always a strong competitor. What teams are you looking out for as teams that might be the biggest competition?
Yeah, I mean, you're going to be looking at some different teams that have different strengths across the events. But, Monmouth, Ryder, Iona, they're all going to be in the mix. Sienna's got, some good runners, especially in the distance side of things. So there's not really any team that you're going to be rolling out in this championship. I think every event that we come into, we want to keep our eyes on scoring points and not underestimating any competitors. Looking at the performance lists, we have athletes that are leading some of the events. We've got quite a few athletes that are at least ranked in the top 8 spots, which are the scoring spots. So I think it's going to be an exciting championship. You can't take anything for granted. You can't assume anything. But I think we can go in with the confidence that we'll be able to compete.
You oversee the distance portion of this team, but if you're looking at the event as a whole, what events do you see as the big keys towards gaining a lot of points and winning?
We didn't score as many points on the distance side of things last year, and I think that kind of hurt us in the team score. So we're going to want to make a dent in that area to really kind of push that team scoring forward. But like I said before, there's not really any event that you can take for granted. So we're going to have to show up in the throws. We're going to have to show up in the jumps. We've got a great group of sprinters and hurdlers who are, pretty highly ranked in those performance lists. So I don't know that there's any one event area that we're going to be able to, say we got to score all the points here, because we can't let any of the other events kind of lose the opportunity. So we're really trying to score points across the board and seek opportunities that we needed to improve on from last year.
Well, thank you very much for joining me, Kerry, and good luck in the MAAC championships.
Thank you very much. Yeah, go Jaspers.
John Dove now joins us inside the Morrow Broadcast Studio. John, thank you so much for the time.
Thank you very much.
Now, in this season, obviously you're a cross-country runner, so you've been in shape for most of the year to run distance like you do now. How do you think that the cross-country year, in which you and your unit performed very well, helped prepare you for indoor season?
I think the biggest thing is mentality, being able to come down from, doing 5-6 mile races in cross-country on the grass and then moving to a mile or maybe 2 miles on the track just makes it so much more easily get you mentally prepared.
How would you say you as a unit, the distance runners, have done so far this indoor season?
Really great, really great. We've had some bumps and bruises along the way, but people have retaliated and exceeding expectations in that way, and I think everybody's really excited and pumped up for the upcoming meet Saturday and Sunday.
When you have a weekend meet, what goes on during the week? How are you practicing to make sure that you can compete to the best of your ability?
Yeah, well, we practice a lot. We have a lot of double practices, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday. We have our 7:30 practices, then we have our workouts at 2 o'clock, and then we have our lifting after that, and then we do a lot of rehabilitation as well. So maybe before or after practice, you go and take an ice bath, or you use Normatec boots or stuff like that to prepare yourself for the races on the weekend.
You've got a lot going on during the week. I had no idea that it would be this much going on.
It seems like it, yeah.
So let's take a look at Max. You as a senior, you've been through this rodeo before. What kind of challenge are the MAAC championships, and is it any different from a regular meet that you have during the season?
Every meet you kind of want to go into with the same mentality. You want to perform the best that you know that you're capable of, whether that means winning or whether that means scoring maybe 1 point for the team. You want to go in doing the best that you know that you can do. So compared from MAAC to every other meet, the competition is high, but you know what you're capable of, and you just listen to your coaches and you just trust the training and do the best that you can.
What needs to happen during the MAAC championships on Saturday and Sunday to ensure that your unit and even you yourself get the most points possible and help your team win?
The biggest thing is knowing that this is a team event. As much as you run for yourself, you run for your team and you want to represent the Jaspers, which I think is in the back of your head when you're running for the MAAC championships. You have people supporting there because it's a Go Green event. And I think when that's in the back of your head and you're doing it for your team, you're just going to push yourself that much harder.
Seems like a great mentality to have, and we wish you the best of luck, John.
Thank you very much.
Now pleased to be joined by senior Paige Chapin, a sprinter on the women's track and field team. Paige, thank you so much for joining me.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Now, Paige, everyone that we talk to, women, men, coaches, student athletes, they've all lauded how the sprinters are doing this year. How is that going, and how much confidence does it give you knowing that a lot of your teammates and coaches have a lot of faith in your unit?
I'm very excited to see how our sprinters do. We've been working very hard at our practices. Coach Ryan has been very strategic in how he's been giving us our practices. He makes everything kind of tailored to us. So it's very individualized in the sense that we know our bodies and we work based off of how we're feeling, and I think that is how we train our best, and we can perform our best based off of knowing who we are as a team and knowing who we are as individuals as well.
You've been in the MAACs before, you've competed in them. Are they any different compared to a regular meet that you go with through the season? What kind of preparation goes into performing in them?
So for a lot of us, the MAAC is the biggest meet of the year. It is something that we look forward to as soon as we get here in the fall. It's a place where we all really truly come together as a big team unit. The morale is completely different, I think, than other competitions that we see. We're always just there, even if we're not competing. We are at one time as another person, we make it over to their race, or we make it over to the cage for the throwers or the sand pit for the jumpers, and it's very, very exciting. A lot of teams are there, a lot of good competition is there, and we take it very seriously here.
When I spoke to you before the season started, you mentioned a lot about that team chemistry and how it's been more developed than in years past. As the season has rolled along, how have you seen that play out?
The chemistry has only gotten better, I feel. We've gotten a lot more closer. We're all getting to know each other way more. Going to competitions together, we can see the progress that all of us are making, and we're all proud of each other, truly. And I think that seeing us coming together, even as a very close unit, coming out at the MAAC at our biggest competition for a lot of us, I think is going to be really great.
You're ranked amongst the top runners in the MAAC. There's a lot of pressure that goes into that, knowing that you're facing the best of the best. How do you face that pressure?
So I'm going to pull a quote from Billie Jean King. I went and I saw her speak back in October, and she said that pressure is a privilege. And I take that very seriously, and I use that kind of in my daily life. I feel that pressure is something that not all of us are allowed to have, and that performing well under that pressure is something we can carry over into our daily lives, in the workplace, in school, in our families even. And I think that being under that pressure, I feel like I personally like to thrive. Our coaches give a lot of pressure to all of us, and I feel like I definitely am excited to see what other competitors can do, and I'm more excited to see what can happen under that pressure.
With that being said, what will be the biggest challenges and the biggest keys towards not only winning your own individual events, but for Manhattan to win the MAAC championships?
For Manhattan to win would be amazing. I'm very, very excited to see what can happen, and it's really not too far out of reach for us. We've all been giving 150% of our effort towards the season, so I'm very confident in our team, and our individual abilities are what stack up into a big team win, so I'm very excited.
Okay, well, thank you so much for joining me,
Yeah,
Paige, and good
thanks.
luck to you over the weekend.
Thank you.
We have sophomore Brenton Foster in the fold here. Brenton, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
Before we talk about MAAC, let's just talk about your season as a whole. You start off the year by breaking the school record in the high jump. How do you think your season has gone so far?
Yeah, it was a perfect start to the season. First competition out, jumped 224, so 7'4" in the high jump to break the school record. Felt really good. The season so far, it's going great. Like I'm still competing well, still competed well through Mets, and really looking forward to MAACs.
Not only have you done well in the high jump this year, but also the long jump as well. How do you feel confident in those two events leading up to MAACs?
Definitely confident in the high jump. For long jump, my Mets competition was the first time I've jumped long jump, so it was great to get the win there. But I'm a bit skeptical about MAACs for long jump. I have to definitely pull out a really good jump to get up there in the medals.
Last year, you were able to see what the MAAC championships are like for the first time. Do you feel a little more prepared now that you have 1 year under your belt?
Absolutely. Like the MAAC championships don't compare to any other competition we do in the year. They're like next level. Everyone is really looking forward to this and looking forward to competing well, because everyone in the team, like they want everyone else to do very well, and it's a great atmosphere.
You mentioned that in the long jump, you want to try and get one of your better records in the MAAC championships as well. Mm-hmm. What other goals do you have in this weekend's meet?
Definitely for the team, I'd like to definitely score 20 points. Would be the biggest thing I could do just for the team's total for the men's track and field. And other than that, like I will have a lot of time off because I'm only doing 2 events. There's some people out there doing 5, so I'll definitely be walking around and cheering on everyone and hoping everyone does really well.
What's the biggest strategy for Manhattan track to win the MAACs?
I think for me, I can see that this is one of our best years for our cross-country team. They're doing really well. Our sprints team, our 4x4 is doing really well. And I think our field is just as strong as ever. And I feel that if everyone can like come together more as a team than like an individual sport the track is, then I think we can do really well and place